In focus is Antony Waste. NG Subramanian, Group CFO of Antony Waste Handling Cell, is joining us now to talk more about the way forward and obviously the Q4 business update. In this kind of market, the stock is in the green. Pull up the last 1 week, 10-day, 15-day, 3 months chart. Also, it will come up. Mr. Subramanian, talk to us about what led to this rise in revenues. And we are observing that last few quarters, there is a very good order flow coming in your way. Talk to us about how the momentum is building.
Good afternoon, Ajay. We are in municipal solid waste. So as and when we back the contracts, we definitely show up a stronger revenue growth. So over the last 3-4 quarters, the company has been diligently working on executing the contracts that were bagged just after COVID season. So let it be Panvel, your Pimpri-Chinchwad waste to energy project, your Nasik project. These were the large CNT and the waste to energy projects that the company had bagged. And we have started commercial exploitation of the same. So that is why you're seeing a good traction in the core revenue growth. For FY24, I think a 17% core revenue growth has been reported, and that will build on the order book. I mean, we are exiting FY24 with a unexecuted book of around 8,200 crores. So that kind of gives us a significant revenue visibility, and these are like an annuity model for us.
Okay, NG, you started sporting a big beard. I could barely recognize you.
True, I saw you for the first time. I'm like, okay, this is
clearly. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. NG and I go back a long way. At one point in time, NG was our colleague as well. NG, you've been working in this waste management is a huge area, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge problem to be served in a big fashion, but very few companies, one of them, of course, is yours, is really taking it head on because the size of the problem is so enormous that perhaps it will take thousands of companies such as yours to actually, bring it completely under control. How's your runway looking like? I'm talking, I want to view from you beyond the Q4, as in quarter to quarter kind of yearly kind of a view. I want to talk about does it look like a juicy long runway of opportunity for you when you guys sit and formulate your strategies on a longer term?
So, Ajay, let me take you a decade back. In 2010, 2014, I mean, we were around a 200 crore kind of a company working with smaller projects and stuff. And over a period of a decade, we have started concentrating on larger cities where the waste management is a bigger problem. We also have a huge legacy problem of waste getting accumulated in dumping grounds. So that's another big problem which the society faces. So the government over the last decade has seriously started channelizing its focus in finding operators and companies like us to kind of provide a very judicious proposal wherein the waste can be processed. Not just collection and transportation, but also processing of the waste. Like almost 70 to 80% of Mumbai's waste is getting processed either in the form of compost or refuse-derived fuel and generation of power and recyclables. That's the way any city, any urban local body has to move. Approximately 43% of the state capitals today are not privatized. So that kind of gives you a huge potential for the business opportunity. We at Antony are managing around 12 to 14,000 tons of waste a day. That is just going to scale up. I mean, that's just less than 5% of the reported tonnage of waste that is generated in the country. The potential is huge. You need to be selective about the kind of clients that you work with. Since it's a B2G kind of a sector, you need to be very selective in the kind of clients that you want to work with, the kind of technology that you want to offer. And these are long-term contracts, right? So you don't want to get your math wrong. Just for the first 2 quarters numbers looking juicy on an Excel sheet, you will want to be very careful about the kind of costing, the kind of work, the kind of process, and the kind of deliverables that needs to be provided to your client. Over the last 2 decades, I mean, Antony has been able to work towards with various municipalities. Like we worked with Varanasi, we worked with Navi Mumbai, Delhi, Noida, Nagpur, Nasik. These are just to name few, and we have been able to improve the Swachh Bank rankings consistently. We are number 1 in the Ganga linked cities. Varanasi stands number 1. Navi Mumbai stands number 1 in the state of Maharashtra in the population category. We are working hard to improve Noida, Nagpur rankings. So that is how we as a company are trying to improve the livability index of the cities where we work.
Right, Mr. Subramanian, this is Vinny joining the conversation as well. Good afternoon. And, I also just want to know a couple of things in terms of the recent, the merger approvals that have come in for the company. So, one, could you elaborate a bit more in terms of the rationale behind this merging? How is this going to help the company in terms of what is the value unlocking that you would see, or how does that actually work for the company?
Definitely, Vinny. Thank you. So Antony Waste has multiple subsidiaries with various experiences. So I mean, three of the wholly owned subsidiaries are getting merged into one wholly owned subsidiary, wherein the single subsidiary will then have an experience of not only mechanical power sweeping but also of collection and transportation of waste. So if any client wants us to come and bid for a project, we have a bouquet of services that we can now offer. So that was the main reason why we put all our services into a single bucket and we are able to have a super strong technical qualification. One. Second is also eases are a lot of compliances. Being a listed company, I mean, with 9 reporting companies, I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, we like to kind of make the company much more transparent, much more organized, and it's easier from the compliance perspective as well. And more importantly, these companies were formed when the income tax were slightly preferring the infrastructure services by giving them Section 80IA benefit. Now that benefit is anyway accrued out, and now we are in the new tax regime, so that it doesn't make sense for us to have multiple subsidiaries to continue.
Just one more thing, I want to know, obviously in this biomining segment which is there, how big is this opportunity? How do you see it changing, and the traction that's coming in from here in terms of more orders or inquiries that is there?
Definitely. So biomining, we did the first contract in 2020-21 when we bagged the Greater Noida biomining, where we mined around 1.2 million tons kind of a waste. So definitely the potential is very high, because if you go to any city, I mean, I'm not just talking about tier 1 city, but let it be tier 1, 2, or a tier 3 city, you are seeing a huge number amounts of garbage which is just being dumped around, and cities are now growing around the dumping ground. So these waste has to be these are sore spots. So we need to kind of get rid of these waste. So that's where biomining comes in. When historical legacy dumping grounds are cleaned up, the land is excavated, the waste are segregated. Anything which is of remedial uses can be remediated. Anything which is having a biomaterial use can be used as a soil conditioner, and the land is given back to the urban local body for further utilization. They can set up a professional scientific waste processing site, or they can do whatever they want with that new land. Land is expensive, land is premium, and the city is now growing, so they don't have enough space and the waste needs to be processed. So biomining as a segment is there, is going to be there for the next at least a decade and a half, because take any city and let it be Indore, Surat, Ahmedabad, Chennai, Mangalore, Bangalore, you name it, they have huge mountains of waste which is there. So that is a big potential for us.
NG, before we let you go, so now you're seeing so many potential areas of growth. You're being very careful in choosing whom you work with. What are the targets you've set for yourself? We are also at the start of the new financial year, winding up 24. For next 2 to 3 years, what kind of profitability or top line targets that you're setting for yourself?
Right. So as we get into FY25, we already have 2 contracts that we have already bagged. The work is going on. That is the construction debris waste processing at Mumbai, the western suburbs of Bombay. And the second would be our CIDCO biomining project. Now, these 2 will start giving me hardcore revenue in FY25. We will also be bidding for new projects with the election and everything out of the way in the next 2 quarters. Maybe by October onwards, the corporation will be back in the action of granting new contracts to waste management companies. So looking at the current scenario, looking at the fabric that is we can see and we can kind of look at, 20 to 25% CAGR growth on our core operating revenue is something that we are confident to achieve. The debt equity ratio for the company is pretty much good for us. It's like less than 1 at given point of time. So we can definitely leverage when we get good projects to bid for and back for. So a CAGR growth of 20-24% is something on cards over the next 4 to 5 years. Profitability will be maintained at an EBITDA level of around 21 to 24%, depending upon the kind of contracts and the mix that we get. So those are the numbers that we are kind of batting for.
All right, NG, we'll let you go on that one. Thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you once again.
Thanks a lot, Ajay. Thank you.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.